Grow a Garden is a game every Roblox player has heard of. It has gotten some of the most insane records the platform has ever seen, and was the first game to get over 20 million players. In the last about 2 months, the game's player count has noticeably been going down, and it has been dropping its position on the top playing games list. It is no longer in top 3 highest player count games, and lately hasn't been able to reach top 5 either. It seems players are losing interest in Grow a Garden, which also leads to the game slowly becoming less popular and relevant, especially when there are other games that have just as many, if not more, players. And just to make it clear, despite the game having so many people quitting it, 200 to 300,000 players is still a ton. After all, it does remain in the top 10 most popular games, which is huge. And I've seen some call Grow a Garden dead, which is something I would not agree on. What I consider a dead game is a game that is not able to make enough money for the team behind it to keep updating it, so they abandon it. I think it makes sense. Looking at the player count graph, you can tell the game is definitely not in the prime time anymore, now averaging less than 300,000 players, pretty similar to what it had at the beginning of May, when it was just starting to break into the front page on Roblox. Ever since Grow a Garden's insane entrance into Roblox front page, we have gotten multiple other very big and popular games such as Steal a Brainrot, Plants vs. Brainrots, and obviously 99 Night in the Forest. It's almost like Grow a Garden started a new era of Roblox because a game getting over 3 million players is just a weekly thing to happen, unlike before 2025. Grow a Garden is known for its simplicity. I mean, the main gameplay loop is you buying seeds, planting them, harvesting crops, and sell them to earn currency. You don't really need more than that to progress in the game, pretty much. But some side stuff to do that can help you progress much faster is buying gear and hatching pets. They give you and your garden different kind of boosts and are really helpful. But the main gameplay aside, the updates add different events, with the current one being Safari Harvest Event. Events tend to help games like this stay relevant because they offer you limited time items, which you do not want to miss out on. And in the case of Grow a Garden, it does work that way too. But now we're getting to the first problem and reason on why the game is slowly losing its players and popularity. The update content. Updates are good, and even if they end up bad, they still help to keep the game up. In Grow a Garden's case, updates were often pretty good at first, during the game's prime time basically. Every event had something new to it which made it more interesting. And with time, the events became more repetitive, basically the same stuff that we already got to play with in older events. And the issue is that nearly every new event just felt like that. Don't have to search for an example, because the current Safari Harvest event reminds me a lot of the Summer Harvest event, plus something like a Beanstalk event. In Summer Harvest, you had to collect summer crops and bring them to the cart for rewards every hour. In Beanstalk event, you had to bring a certain type of plants to grow the beanstalk. And in this event, you bring certain type of plants to the cart every hour for rewards. I mean, even the fandom Grow a Garden wiki compares it to the 2 events I thought of. The event itself might not be bad, it's just that it feels repetitive. In Part 2, they even added Mega Harvest event, just like in Summer Harvest. Another example could be the Seed Stages event. It was one of the last ones I played before quitting the game. Here you had to buy seeds, plant them, then harvest the crops and give them to a guy that will upgrade them to Tier 2 and give you rewards. You do the same with Tier 2 and Tier 3 plants. Tier 4 cannot be upgraded and are kept as normal plants, basically. What makes them different is that you can feed other crops to boost their size and give extra mutations. I think the idea was actually nice, but the way they made it just felt yet again repetitive. I think what could have been cool is if you, for example, received limited amount of pots, would have to plant those plants there, water them, change their soil and such to grow best plant possible, and receive more rewards. I personally quit the game because updates started to feel repetitive, and I've heard many quit because of a similar reason. The game has been getting more dislikes for the past weeks too, which isn't really a good sign. Even during updates, it doesn't really get much better. But what does help the game are admin abuses. Grow a Garden have popularized admin abuse events, and now many games use this idea too. Admin abuses is also why we have gotten to see some of the most insane player count records on Roblox. Everyone wants free items. In Grow a Garden's case, there are many events to check out. And besides weather events, players get to buy cool items that get restocked. But now even admin abuses have been losing interest from players. In just the past month, the player count went from over 6 million to less than 3 million on admin abuses, which also shows the decreased interest from players. And the game got less than 3 million players on admin abuse, despite the event having over 5 million players interested. For comparison, Steal a Brainrot doesn't get much more interested people, but still manages to get over 20 million players. But going back to actual gameplay, as I already mentioned before, there are pets in this game. And there is also trading in this case, which is a perfect combination to create trading economy. It's based on the currency we earn, which is shekels, and it was fine until economy-breaking bugs appeared. So at one point, players just got all the way to septillions and such, and the current values of some of the best pets in-game seem to get into said septillions. And Grow a Garden did try to fix that, like for example by adding Ascension, which would reset your shekels. But as you understand, nobody would waste all their currency like that. So today, Ascension just takes a certain amount instead. They even tried to cap crops at 1 trillion before, but shortly after reverted that. Basically, the economy has gone crazy due to bugs, and there isn't really something they can do without making the players angry. It's normal for games to lose players and their popularity over time, but in the case of Grow a Garden, it is definitely more than that. Players just don't find the game as fun as before, mostly due to updates and such, which I already mentioned earlier. Also, something kind of funny that happened very recently is the fact that Grow a Garden is getting an entire movie made on it. And even crazier, apparently the same team who made the Sonic movies are now working on this movie. Now, will this be good or bad? Nobody knows. But I can tell it does sound weird because Grow a Garden isn't exactly a big game in terms of how much you can add to the story. And talking about story, I do wonder what kind of storyline a movie like this would have. Anyway, Grow a Garden is not dead. It still receives updates and has many players despite the flaws it has that made others quit. Sure, the player count did very much go down, but it is still one of the biggest games on the platform, just not as big as it used to be during its prime time. Anyway, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would really appreciate that. You can watch one of these videos while waiting for a new one. They are good too. You can check out our game and my Discord server, where I can sometimes chat with you. Links are in description, and I will see you soon.